Nathalie Garson, welcome to Jewish Money Matters. It's such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Wow, I'm so happy to be here, Yael. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited and I'm so grateful I'm catching you right after you've launched this incredible Global Network Leadership Summit, which we'll talk about very soon. And you're so gracious to come on the show right on the heels of these amazing conversations you've been having on the podcast. Just to brag a little bit about you, you're the CEO of Born to Do Business, the founder of the Global Network for Jewish Women Entrepreneurs and Leaders, and a fellow podcast host. You're the host of the Jewish Women Entrepreneurs and Leaders podcast. So thank you for being here. Before we get to your work in your nonprofit, the Global Network for Jewish Women Entrepreneurs and Leaders, I want to go, Natalie, through your own journey towards entrepreneurship. You had a corporate job, I think a pretty nice one. What happened? What led you to go on your own? What was the impetus for that?
Wow, I love that question because I'm sure that it's a question that a lot of people, wonder about. Like, why would you leave a corporate job? So I have been in Israel for 20 years. And for those of you who know, in Israel, the high-tech industry is a very well-known industry. Whoever wants to make money in Israel goes and works in high tech. I mean, unless you're selling your startup, that's what you do. And that's what I had. When I first came to Israel, I was a single mom. I had two kids, and I went for my corporate job because that was the safest way for me to have a salary every month. And yes, I was in high tech with all the advantages and the car and the phone and the computer and
Which, by the way, it's a very enviable position for a new immigrant, right? Like the fact that you were even able to get the corporate job in high tech as a new immigrant, it's already like, wow.
yeah, definitely. And I have to say that I'm originally from France, but having lived in the States for many years, I was completely bilingual in English and still am, as you can hear. I mean, if you hear an accent, it's from, me being from France. And so having the English really, really helped. And I think that Anglos that come to Israel really have an advantage because global companies are looking for English speakers. And when you are in positions like I was, marketing, business development, customer service, I was on all those positions that are front facing. This is definitely an advantage. And yes, I was very lucky. I'm not very grateful for those years of having, a corporate job. However, I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always knew that,
Really?
yes, this was part of my plan all along. But like I said, I was a single mom and I knew that I couldn't and manage two little kids and have my own business. And so I patiently waited until my youngest turned 18. Actually, I even planned this in advance because I went for my MBA when she turned 16. I was like, okay, I'll get my MBA, while I'm still in my corporate job. And then after my MBA, I started my first business 11 years ago. And that
Mm-hmm.
was a consulting firm. And I have to say that it all started at the time, I didn't know what it was called, but it all started for my need for purpose. At the time, I was just saying that I didn't like what I was doing. That was, those were the words I was using. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I need something else. I need something more. But really, I think I was already looking for my purpose. I knew that there was something else than, going to work for another company. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, like I'm very grateful I had those 8 years where I could support my family. And it was interesting and challenging. And there's nothing wrong with working in corporate. But I think that when you're looking for something more, you're looking to leave your mark, you're looking to have an impact, you're looking to have your voice heard, it's difficult to have it, through the corporate world. And so, but
Yeah.
I did get my challenge was to be in the board of directors of this, high tech company, and I was the only woman in that board, and that was I was like, okay, this is I'm going to be the only woman there. And once I had reached that point, I was like, okay, now I can leave. It was kind of inner challenge that I needed to be, yeah, because it's a very men. I mean, it was 11 years ago, so maybe things have changed. But at the time, I was the only woman in the room, and so yeah, it wasn't easy. Yes.
Wow, but you wanted to achieve that. And then once you achieved it, it's like, okay, I can now go to pursue the other dream, the bigger one.
Exactly, exactly. It was like, okay, and it wasn't, I mean, again, 10 years is a long time, so I didn't have the self-confidence that I have now. And I did feel like, okay, I need to make my, to make my place in this room and to have my voice heard. But I knew that I'm a very independent, very creative. I'm sure, like, all entrepreneurs, a lot of ideas, and I needed to have my own thing. And so it was obvious for me that I would be an entrepreneur at some point.
It's interesting the way you described it, because very often we're in this state where we are in our zone of competence. Like there's no doubt that we're good at our job and we're doing, like, we're excellent, the zone of excellency, like really. But then there's that thing that we're like, but I have a zone of genius, right? And I think it's Guy Hendricks who coined these terms. So, and maybe it's not. So I forget. Forgive me if I don't. But they're not mine. And then there's this thing that you felt, no, but there's more to me. And there's nothing wrong, by the way, like you said, to be in that zone of excellence until it's the right time. Because sometimes it's a little bit demonized in the entrepreneurial world. And I want to temper it a little bit, right? Like, although I'm a very big, like, no, you got to go for the purpose, for the meaning. But sometimes, situations are that, like you said, we have a plan, sort of, and you knew what you were going for, and then the timing was a little bit better. Your children were older. Maybe you build yourself a little bit of financial runway before you went on your own.
No, that as a single mom supporting my kids by myself, there was no room for savings.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I shouldn't say that, because when you are working in corporate, they do put money away for you.
Right.
So there was some kind of savings, which I immediately invested in my MBA, because it was an executive MBA, which was very expensive. So
they weren't paying for it. Oh man. Oh.
Yeah, that would have been a good story, but no, they weren't. But I have to say that, as a business mentor myself, I mentor, women, and I also see how they struggle with priorities, right? You
Mm-hmm.
have the little kids sometimes, or sometimes it's, the big family, or sometimes it's the husband's career who is a priority. And I always say that you have to manage priorities. I mean, yes, I'm all for being an entrepreneur, and I'm also all for being fulfilled and realizing your dream, but sometimes it's not just the right time. And sometimes you just have to put pause and say, maybe I'll take 2 years to take care of my kids and I'll come back. Or, you have to also be honest with yourself and not, just go for it. So I agree with you that there is a whole industry of people saying, yes, open your business, it's great. And you have to be careful with that, because not everyone is ready. And like you mentioned, you also need to have financial backup. And so, yes, you have to be smart about knowing when it's the right time. And when you know that you're going to do it, it's just a matter of when. It's not a matter of, right? So,
yeah. It's a delicate balance, right? It's a delicate balance, because on the other hand, we don't want people to hold themselves back either,
right,
and
right.
let their fears hold them back. So really, and I think that's really the place where a good mentor, a good coach can really help you see your blind spots, and where you're literally holding yourself back and claiming to be like doing the practical thing, right? And also when you really need to, hold back.
Right.
So it's a delicate balance, but it's nice that we addressed it. I think it's important for people to hear it and not feel like, oh, I'm a loser if I'm not starting my business. No, it's okay. It's like Natalie said, it's a matter of when, right? It's really a matter of when.
Exactly.
And so you jump into, so first of all, I mean, I'm sure around you there were naysayers, because here you are, after you have this wonderful job, you have the MBA, you're now sitting at the board, and you decide to go on your own. It's a big risk. And mind you, behind the scenes, I don't know who else knew this, but you just told us you didn't really have that much financial runway. So I'm sure around you, maybe perhaps your family, your close friend circle of friends, people were skeptical. And yet you did it. So talk to us about that fear. Now that we're in this delicate balance, talk to us about that fear and that within that pivot.
It's funny, because I'm sure they did, but I don't remember.
Oh, good. That's a good sign.
I'll tell you why. Because I was so convinced, and I was so like living, it wasn't even the dream for me. It was obvious. It was like, I don't even think that I let anyone
Yeah.
Tell me anything. I don't even think there was room for it. I mean, I'm not saying
Mhm.
that's the way to do it. I'm just saying I'm trying to remember. I mean, yes, I had my close family. Are you sure? Financially, are you sure? Yes. I mean, those, natural questions, but it was something that was so obvious for me that I needed to do that I was just like, what? Of course, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe there is a little, also you don't really know what you get yourself into. You just
Yes.
you want the dream, I mean, for me it was so important. I want to say also that during that time when I wasn't yet an entrepreneur or having my own business, I was so consumed by those questions of purpose and meaning,
Mm,
which at some point I started calling Born to Do, which is the name of my business, Born to Do
I love.
Business. And I mean, it was something that was so difficult for me. And I have to say, it wasn't like the pinky happy, what you say, oh, I was looking for my purpose. It was something that was very deep for me. I couldn't sleep at night. I would wake up in the morning, was like, I know there is something, I know there is something else. And so when you have this eating you inside, and that you can't, it's not something that you say, oh, maybe I'll open my business. It wasn't even in terms of opening a business. It was, what is my born to do? What am
Mm,
I here for? Why? I mean, I get up every
impact.
morning, I go to work. Why? Like, where do my time goes? And those questions were very existential for me, not just a matter of a career choice. And so I think that the people around me knew that, and it was so obvious that I had to look for something. Now, it took me time to find this born to do. I'm not going to say that it's something that you find right away, but
Mhm.
I think that when you have that question, it's not even a question of, do I open my business or not? It's more like, what do I do with my life? Like,
Yes.
how do I
Yes.
serve?
I could
And
totally relate. Yeah, it's like you want to create more impact. And it's like,
right,
okay, I need to listen to the cues. I'm listening. You become very sensitive. Like, where is
right,
Hashem leading me towards? Because I know I'm meant for more. And I
yeah,
think, when you say you don't remember naysayers and things like that, but the way you spoke, it's like you hit the nail on the head, even by the way you answer that, because when people perceive a level of commitment and conviction, that it sounds like that's what you had. You were committed to this, not perhaps knowing the entire road ahead. We never do, but it's like, okay, like nobody get in her way.
yeah, it was more like that. I mean, after that, being an entrepreneur, I mean, I now I say I've been 11 years in business, but as you know, there are ups and downs, and it's a bumpy
Mhm.
road, and
Right.
and you have transitions, and you have, do I go this way? Do I go that way? And yes, people around me at some point or another would say, well, maybe you should go back to a job. Maybe you should
Right.
go back to your, safe corporate. And, sometimes it's like, okay, maybe. And then half a second later, it's like, no, never,
No.
never again. It's like, so I mean, I want to say, and it's important, I think, to be authentic about this, because we hear a lot of success stories and like
Yes.
overnight success. And, I woke up and I had money in the bank and all those things. And I don't think it happens like that. It really doesn't. It happens with a lot of ups and downs and a lot of failure also, and a lot of mistakes. And I think that that's also what I say to my clients. Like, when you fail, that's the best test for you to know, are you on this on the right, quote unquote, there's no right or wrong, but on your path, are
Yeah.
you on
Yeah.
your path?
Yeah.
Because if you fail and you get up, then and you continue, that's the right path. If you
Correct.
fail and you start wondering, am I in the right direction, then maybe you should really ask yourself those questions. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that I speak a lot about alignment. And
Hmm.
alignment is really being in the right place. And there's no one that can tell you this is your right place, not a job and not a business. Like, just find your own alignment and listen to yourself. And
Yes.
like you said, to the inspiration and to the intuition that you might get.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a bumpy road. It's not
It-
yeah,
yeah, and it's a lot of inner work. You just alluded to it, and I think we underestimate this piece. How much inner work it's. I always say it's it's parenting and entrepreneurship. It's like the two greatest personal development experiences of your life. Period. Right. Um, but I want to hone in on something actually before I ask you the next question. So what happens next? You hand in your resignation letter, and then what?
and then what? Well, actually, it wasn't a resignation letter. I had like a red carpet because the company was going bankrupt.
Oh, Okay, that was
Yeah,
a good time to leave then.
exactly. So it was just when I was in my MBA, the company was going, I was one of the last people that was helping to close the company. And so it was a very good segue. And then I started having, little gig on the side. I was a consultant. I started by being a consultant. And so I had a few clients. I remember even that while I was in my job, I was working, in Israel, we don't work on Fridays, right? We work on Sundays. And so I had clients on Fridays. I
Oh,
started having
nice.
clients on Fridays, and so it's not something that, again, happens overnight. That you wake up and you have your portfolio full of clients. It's something that happens. You have a contact, you have a connection. I remember doing a lot of strategic partnership, like with people that I knew I wanted to work with, and I knew I wanted to be together on that contract. And then, so it really happened very, very slowly. And then at some point you start building up, your business for yourself.
Yeah.
But it's not a straightforward line.
This is actually a very good piece of this story, because not only is the financial runway piece, having it, whether we have it or not have it, but what you did build for yourself, which is also important, perhaps even more important, is you started building this business while you were employed. And I think sometimes we don't realize how much that entrepreneurship, that building our personal brand, that can get us so far. There's no reason why we can't be creating that as we are sitting on our biweekly check, right? Like, it's totally fine. And it's actually a very smart move, because that's also how you discover what kind of people do you like to work with, what kind of work, what lights you up. It's a discovery process, and you're setting up yourself to have those clients if and when you decide to leave.
Right. And I mean, I think in my case, being that I started as a business consultant, it was really easy to do, because it doesn't, you could take time whenever you want. I mean, unless, except for the meetings with the clients, I wasn't in coaching, and I wasn't in online programs, and I wasn't where I am today, which is very time consuming. I don't think I could have, done all that. At the time, it was having a few consulting clients. And consulting is very flexible, because
Mm-hmm.
it's really your experience, your expertise that you sell. And yeah, I think that starting, in any case, even when you start your business, you're going to start with one client after the other, right? So
Right.
I think that, it's very smart to manage the transition, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. So over the last 11 years, you've been working with entrepreneurs, you've been mentoring entrepreneurs. What are some of the common themes that you've seen and you've addressed in your work, Natalie?
Wow, that's a good and huge question.
There are so many themes here. Let's see.
So many
Things
things.
that
Well,
stand out.
I started, like I said, I started as a consultant.
Mm-hmm.
And as a consultant, it was more about the strategy, the expertise, the experience of the content. And people, when you come to them and you offer them a good strategy, apparently I was good at what I was doing, people would say, yes, 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 great strategy, love it. Yeah, perfect. And then you come back 2 weeks later, have
They
you done
didn't
it?
implement.
Right? Have you done anything? No, we didn't have time, forgot the thing, forgot the email, didn't find the thing. And I was like, and this was happening a lot. And I was
Right.
that's naive at the beginning. I don't know if I was naive or I just didn't have the experience. I thought, you have a good strategy. It makes sense for you. Why not implement it?
Right.
And
And
that
this
was
is where the mindset piece comes in, the personal growth
exactly,
piece that we were just talking about.
exactly. And that's when I realized that I also needed to work on my mindset. First of all, to discover my work on myself. And then
Mm-hmm.
I needed to add a piece, which is where I brought in the coaching, which is where I
Mm-hmm.
brought in the mindset, which is where I brought in that if you have beliefs that are going to stop you, you just spoke about the fears before, or if you don't, believe in yourself, or if you think that, oh, forget it, this is never going to work, the best strategy could be sitting in front of you and you are not just going to do it. That's it. And so I realized that. And I was like, I remember, from one meeting to the next every 2 weeks, and then nothing was happening. And so that's when I started with my programs. That's when I started taking more the holistic approach of a business, of an entrepreneur. And that's also where I decided, you said you understand more who you want to work with. I understood that I didn't necessarily want to work with small and medium companies, which were the clients I was working with as a consultant, and more with entrepreneurs, with solopreneurs, with people that were starting their business by themselves, because I had direct access to the person who is making the decisions, but also to the person who can or cannot work on their mindset. And so that's how I created those programs where it's not only the strategy, which is very important, but there is also the learning part, and there is also the mindset part, and there's also the accountability part and the implementation part. And so the program became like a holistic approach to business entrepreneurs, where you come in and you have all those needs. I remember like putting the entrepreneur in the middle and saying, okay, what does an entrepreneur need? And then drawing circles around and saying, okay, they need this, they need that, they need this, and then creating a program that really gives everything that an entrepreneur needs. And then it grew also with time. Today, my program also evolved, and it's a different level, because I only work with entrepreneurs that are scaling. I don't work with entrepreneurs that are either beginning or growing. And so to answer your question, the things that I see in the growth of a business, in the life cycle of a business, is that once you have an idea, okay, you go for it, good. Then you want to have more clients, great, more marketing, more selling, more visibility, great. And then overwhelm.
Yep.
And then overwhelm. And then I don't know where to start. I have too many clients. Well, we never have too many clients, but I don't know where, how to deal with all that, how to deliver. I don't know how to organize my time, how to set priorities. And that's where I really come in, because the strategy needs to be leveraged. The positioning needs to be leveraged, the pricing, the offering, everything needs to be leveraged, because we have an entrepreneur who already knows that they're good at what they do, that they're, like you said, in their zone of brilliance, and they need now to, I'm going to say, to behave like a real business owner.
They need to scale. But there's growing pains at that point. You validated your offers. You have a client base. You have something great going for you, but it's like taking that next leap. So there's the beginning growing pains of just starting out. And then, like you said, you hit this point where it's like scaling. Yes,
exactly. And I find that if we talk about zone of brilliance, that's my zone of brilliance, because I bring in the strategy, which is the next level strategy, and the coaching, which is, okay, let's hit, a new level, new devil, like how do you,
for sure.
Okay, you might have the clients, you might have the revenue, you might have a lot of things that are checked, but you need to get to become the CEO, to hire your team, to create the systems, and to be there for the long run, and to be in the marathon. And that's something that entrepreneurs don't necessarily know how to do, because they love to go from one idea to the next, from one bright, shiny object to the next. And so that is really my zone of genius, where I know how to take business owners that already sometimes have teams, sometimes already have systems, and to really put them on the track of scaling that is, going to be for the long run.
And I find at that point also, it's funny that we're having this conversation. So I just spoke about this on Friday's episode, Ask Yael. I find that at that point, there's also this, we need to invest in our businesses at a bigger level. And that brings all sorts of, again, money beliefs and money, all the stuff comes up where we don't know how to do that. We've never done that. And then we have beliefs about going into debt for our businesses or things like that could really be holding us back big time. If we actually could expand our mindset and understand what is investing for our business, which is, again, like you said, we're in it for the long run. If we had that long-term vision, then we would see that it's a no-brainer to make this investment, right? Because it's going to get me very quickly to where I want to be. And I see this happen all the time, where at that point, entrepreneurs really hold themselves back and keep themselves very, very small and very overwhelmed, to the point of almost burnout, when this could have been, again, something that they were in it for a very, very long time, really shining, right? So do you see that too?
Well, what I see is that as long as you're in the launching and the growing phase, you need to count on your expertise and what you know how to do, your gifts or your knowledge or whatever you're selling. Even if it's products, it's your knowledge of selling products and your expertise. And you're relying on this, and that's fine, because you're delivering what you know how to do. But once you get to the scaling stage, you need to know how to run a business.
Yeah.
And that's another set of skills, and that's another set of expertise that you cannot make up. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I speak to my clients, and sometimes, and I love that there are a lot of business coaches out there, and it's great because we need as many coaches as possible. People need help. But sometimes you have those business coaches that know how to do the marketing and know how to do the selling and know how to do more visibility on social media, but they're not building a business. They're not creating the infrastructure of a business. And
Mm-hmm.
there's no other way. That's why you cannot take a shortcut. At some
Mm-hmm.
point, you're going to have to create a business. You're going to have an infrastructure. And what you just said, which is the fear of investing and the fear of moving forward, is the fear of any CEO. And
Right.
that's what a real CEO has to face,
Yeah.
and not just where do I find my next client? That's a sales
Right.
problem.
Right. Right. It's where do I find the capital to grow this area of the business that needs to grow
Exactly.
ASAP because the market is demanding it. That's a real CEO.
Or how do I do my financial projections so
Right.
that I know that in 3 years I will make back and more the money that I'm
Exactly.
investing now? Or how
Exactly.
do I hire the person who's going to allow me to leverage my time so that what I do is paid much more, and what she does is going to be, allowing me to be much more profitable in my business. But I need to take the money out and to hire someone.
Right.
And then you need to have the long picture. And that's why you also have less businesses that get to the scaling stage.
Yeah.
But that's okay. But those who do, they need the help of someone to really structure it as a real business in
Yeah.
order to be a real CEO.
Yeah. Yep, 100%. You're speaking my language. I love this. I knew this was going to be a great conversation. So then how did we get to the nonprofit, to the Global Network for Jewish Women Entrepreneurs and Leaders? That was during COVID, right, Natalie?
Yes.
What was that about?
Well, this is it's a crazy journey, I have to say, because it's something that when I look back, I understand what happened. But while I was in it, I wasn't in the driver's seats.
Mm.
That's it. I'm just saying the truth. I mean, now I can see where it was going. But when it happened, I was like, okay, this is going somewhere. I don't know where it's going, but I'm just going along for the ride. And so the story is that it did happen during COVID after a very successful challenge that I had, a 21-day challenge. It was just when everyone was inside, when we couldn't go out of the house and everyone was
Lockdown.
Lockdown. Yeah, I was the word in Hebrew was coming up, and everyone was at home, not knowing what to do. It was the first lockdown, and we had this, and I just said we have to do something. I had this Facebook group with a few hundred people, and I think I did almost something like what I'm doing now, which is I said we're going to do one interview a day. And I started also crowdsourcing to all the people that I know and said, let's just get together and inspire people, and let's just have interviews, and let's just, do something. Because, and I think I called it reinvent your business or something like that. Also because I saw this as an opportunity, people at home can really work on their business. They can really do things that they never have time to do. Right. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. And so I think I had also 21 guests, and it happened very organically and very naturally, and it was beautiful. And at the end of the challenge, I was like, okay, goodbye, end of the challenge. And everyone was like, no, we're not stopping here. We need to continue. I was like, okay, what do you suggest? Well, let's meet once a month for a Zoom. Great, let's meet once a month for a Zoom. And this group was really international, global, mostly women. It's funny because at that point I had to make a niche decision where there were a few men that I had to say, sorry, we're only doing this for women. So it was awkward, but it was also me also making a strategic decision. And we started going on Zoom every month. And then I'm a business coach, right? So I monetize, right? A business model. I had hundreds of ideas for this. But every time an idea came, it was like, no, I need to keep it for free. No, I need to keep it for free. And it was like, and everyone was like, what? But you should monetize this. You have hundreds of women that come every month. How come you're not asking for a membership, making money out of it? There was this intuition that I needed to keep this for free. And this is where I allowed my real purpose to come out, which was I wanted to bring Jewish women together, but not only for business, but for Jewish identity, for leadership, for sisterhood, for connection. And I didn't know it. I was doing it, but I didn't know that I knew it at some level. I was like, yeah, one day I'll do this, but it wasn't really, I didn't think it was. And so that's what happened. The group started to grow and grow. And people, I think, were attracted by this energy of it was for business because it was networking and collaboration and strategic partnership, but it was also women that are not connected to their Jewish identity, that had other Jewish women to speak with, that had a connection with Israel, that could say, this is the first time I'm in a safe place where I could say Shabbat Shalom at the end of the Zoom,
Wow.
things like, or I don't know how to respond to my colleague who is, making anti-Semitic statements and all kinds of things that are so important for me. I thought on a personal level, but finally the personal and the professional, they always connect. And so then after 3 years, actually it was 2.5, I said, that's it, we need a nonprofit. This is a mission that goes way beyond business women that are connecting. This is a mission where we're connecting to Jewish identity. We're creating feminine leadership. We want those women to be able to go back to their communities and to be able to give back and to share. And so, and the best proof of this is that as soon as I just said, who wants to join me? I had so many people wanting to join as a volunteer. And so today, that's what we are. Today, we're like a group of, all together, I think we're close to 100 volunteers, because we have a board of advisor, we have ambassadors, we have chapter leaders, and people keep on saying, we want to help, we want to be part of this movement. So I'm like, okay, this is way beyond my small business. This is
Right.
a nonprofit that has to serve on a collective level. And, I'm allowing it to happen, but we're all doing it together.
Such a beautiful initiative. And it's so you said something that, going back, we divided, the startup stage and the scaling stage. You said something that really applies to what you just experienced, but you probably agree that applies to, well, it applies to every stage, but very, very often, very, very clearly to the startup stage. You said, I heard them. I asked them, what do you suggest? And I heard what they said. And I think it's important. We often miss this. Like, listen to your audience, ask them, what do you want more of? Did you like this better or that better? Do you like it in blue or do you like it in green? Right. And let them tell you, they will tell you, and then cater to that. Right. And those are the messages, because if we're here to serve them, then it's clear that we need to be listening to them. Very often we just want to do it our way. But if we opened ourselves and let the ego step back, right? I'm not saying don't lead. I'm saying lead with service, right? Which means you have to be very in tune to what the needs of your audience. And you've just demonstrated that you were really in tune with that, and you led. And it took you to this place that's beyond what you had envisioned, possibly.
I would even say more than that. I would say that sometimes your audience knows better than you where you should go. Meaning they see in you something that you might not see, because they get the energy level, right? The vibration. They get something from you. And so if you come with your ego and you're like, okay, I'm going to make it a program, or I'm going to make it a this, I'm going to, and listen, there's nothing wrong with doing that. I love business models and I love monetizing, right? But what sometimes if you can afford also, because it has been also 3 years of work and 3 years of investment and in trusting, but this is where the mindset comes in. It's also when you're like, okay, alignment first. I'm always for alignment. Always for alignment. So when I was going inside myself and I was seeing that this was aligned, I had to believe that it was going to lead somewhere. I didn't think it was going to lead that far that fast. I have to say, I have to be honest. I thought that it was going to take some time, but the way, I mean, now it's like going really, really fast. And it could be it's because I let it happen. I don't know. I have to say also, we were talking about scaling and burnout, and I did go through a burnout.
Tell us.
That was, and I'm even thinking that it could be that it's connected, the speed of what's happening now, because I had to stop what I was doing. We were talking about the scaling. The reason why I call myself a scaling expert now is because I went through, I'm not going to say the worst, because I'm sure there are worse, but right. I went through stages of bringing my business very high in terms of revenue, in terms of number of clients, in terms of employees. I had 7 employees at some point, like really like taking it to where you think this is it, right? And getting to the top. Of course, there's always higher, but getting to some level of top, and saying to myself, no, this is not where I want to be.
Wow.
So the scaling is really tricky because you're being pushed, whether
Yeah.
it's ego or whether it's what other people say or whether, the industry, the online marketing industry is very, very powerful. I mean, I
Or
have
the
a lot.
demands of the market, by the way, the demands of your clients.
Right, but it could be that you're being taken into some direction where you do more, 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 more. So I was really in the more. I was hiring more systems, more revenue, more clients, and at some point, I reach a point where no, it's not aligned with what I
Mm.
really want to do. But it's interesting that's why I can look at it now, looking back, is that I don't think I could have seen that before.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, there is a question there, you never, I mean, maybe yes, maybe no, but there's some mistakes that you have to go through. It's not even a mistake. It's
The challenge. It's the challenge and the learning from the challenge. Okay, now that I've built this, what are the parts about this that I'm feel completely misaligned, and how can we backpedal a little and tweak? But we have to get there too, right?
Yes, exactly. You have to get there to be able to say, and this exercise, I don't know if this is the one you're referring to, and I don't have the reference either, but the exercise on the unique brilliance that I teach, and I probably have the reference somewhere, but the unique brilliance has two characteristics. One is that you would do it for free, and two is that you never get tired doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you scale and you start getting tired, of course we're all tired, of course, but I'm saying like tired that
like you want to break the business with the
you don't
sledgehammer,
have the
right?
motivation to continue, not tired, you want to go to sleep, right? And so when and if you wouldn't do it for free, of course don't do it for free, but if you wouldn't do it for free and you don't, and you get tired from it, then it's not the right direction. But like you said, sometimes you have to get to that stage to be able to say that's not exactly where I want to be. And in scaling, every direction takes you far, because you don't just have one other client, you build a whole system and you hire 3 people,
Right.
so then the consequences are proportionate. So I had to go through this. I'm not going to say I'm happy I went through it, because it's never easy, but the I don't know if it's a coincidence, I don't believe in coincidence, but the growth of the global network happened when I decided to stop my direction. So
Interesting. But you have kept your business. You still have, of course, 100%.
I have fine-tuned it.
Right.
So the scaling, so the decision of working only with scaling business
came from that.
Exactly. The decision of being a leaner organization, because I also did take business coaches, and those business coaches that tell you to hire, but without looking at all your financial projections. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm working leaner now, and I'm more focused. This is like what I'm doing is exactly what I want to do, and hopefully in a year from now you'll re-interview me, and we'll have that same conversation. But it's I think that it's part. You were talking about growing pain. I think we can even call it scaling pain. It's the scaling pain that maybe you have to get to a point where you have to say, okay, let me take a step back here, and from that time that I took, because I did have to take time to reassess, to work on my mindset, to work on like what's happening here, and the idea of the nonprofit came from that time, that reflection.
Wow, so good. The story is so good, Natalie. And I love that you've been so clear for people listening, because sometimes we get very confused, and it looks, there's a lot about entrepreneurship, that there's like a mystique and there's like a whole thing, but this has been so clear. And I think it's very helpful for people to hear from the inside, and also get the message that it's worth it, right? That journey and that challenge that teaches you something, and you allow yourself to give the space for what really is the next move. And that's how the next move of the nonprofit comes. All of that is so worth it. And I'm emphasizing this for the people who just like are so frozen in the fear, and right in the I don't know what step to take. Take a step, please. Just take a step.
Yeah. And remember what you said, which is it's the best personal development growth school. I mean, if you're in it, to have shortcut or easy solutions or fast it's not going to work. But if
Right.
I mean, I always go back to the internal work when I see
Yeah.
that something is not working, like, okay, let's look inside. But it takes time. I mean, I'm talking to you now after,
Yeah,
okay?
of course.
So it's something that you can talk about after. While I was in it, I don't think I would have spoken about this like that. So I
Mhm.
think it's also knowing that, okay, now I'm in the period where I need to go inside, I need to understand what's happening. And in a few months from now, I'll go back out and I'll tell my story. It's actually it's interesting. My daughter actually told me that she said that. She said, you know, while I was going through it and she saw how difficult it was, like, one day you'll tell that story. You'll see, one day it will be a story. It's interesting that
Nice.
she's not from the business world, of course, but she was already seeing that it's okay. It's only she's 27, right? So she and she was the one telling me, one day you'll share this and it will be also part of your story. So
Yes, yes, there you go. And a good one too. I think one of the internal work, something that comes up, and I wonder if it comes up for you in your work with women and with clients, is this attachment to the money piece that also it also backfires, because sometimes we're so attached to, well, this is how I'm going to get my money, right? And so I'm like, meaning the attachment to the result, right? And the result meaning in the bank account, that almost doesn't let us move creatively or strategically, because, or even slow down if we need to, because we're so attached to that check. And if we can take a step back and realize your business is just a beautiful vessel, just keep doing it because it's the good thing to do. The right thing to do is how you shine, how you bring impact, and just don't fall for the trap of, I need it because of the money. I think that's a big one, right? Like, I need that client, I need to close that deal. No, 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 no. How about you just keep working and don't disattach yourself from that result? It's
yeah,
not easy, but
got
it's
it.
so important.
Yeah, and I think it's what we were talking about, the corporate mindset. I think the corporate mindset is still, you know, money at the end of the month. And so if
Right.
I have my, you know, whether it's a revenue or a salary, or if I don't have that money, something is not going to happen. I think that you can continue for a while to have that mindset, but at some point, I mean, you know, I always take the example of startups, right? Startups that raise millions of dollars and have no way of knowing if they're going to be able to either pay back or bring the
Right.
return on investment to their investors. They have an idea. They believe so strongly in this idea that they're ready to put $3 million, like to ask for three or whatever, 20 or 100.
Mhm.
And that is the belief of an entrepreneur, that it's
Mhm.
not like, oh, I'm not. And sometimes they work for years in R&D, you know, 7, 8, 10 years before they even make the first revenue. So I'm not saying not everyone is built for that type of business model, because it is a very specific business model and only 2% of the startups really, you know, succeed. But I'm just saying that if we get inspired by that vision and that belief that what I have is worth it, then we're going to go through ups and downs. And you spoke about loans, and
Yep.
I think it's a big fear around loans. That is not a private loan, is not a business loan. A private loan is money thrown out the window. A business loan is an investment so that you can create more money. I always say it's a money making machine, right? Because you're bringing money in,
Exactly.
come out with more money, and that's cash flow. And you don't have a money problem, you have a cash flow problem. So
Exactly.
it's all those mindsets that you need to go through between the growing and the scaling. And again, people that are not going to go to the scaling stage are people that, like you said, are waiting at the end of the month for the paycheck.
I love that you made that distinction. I hadn't thought about it, but it's so clear to me now. Yes, it comes from that fixed paycheck mindset, right? That we have to eradicate. It's almost like you have to eradicate it in order to really get to that next level of scaling.
Yeah, because once you do that, you're going to probably make more money
100%.
than your monthly paycheck. You're
Uh,
going to make more money. You're going to increase your prices. You're going to go for the exact clients that can pay you. And maybe you're going to skip a few months, which is okay, because the next few months are going to be much bigger in revenue. And so
exactly.
it's yeah, it's all a numbers game.
Exactly, exactly. Natalie, you said at the beginning of the interview, I always knew I wanted entrepreneurship. However, you were trained to go into corporate, you went into corporate, you even got the MBA, right? what were the things about your upbringing as it pertains to making a livelihood, money, that stand out in your memory as good lessons that served you, maybe even some lessons that I could do without those, perhaps? Anything that stands out, because so much happens in the home we grow up in, right?
So, I mean, I'm listening to you and I'm like trying to go through the whole, like, where did it start? So, at home, I cannot say that we had like an entrepreneurship, culture. That's not
Mm-hmm.
where I came from. But interestingly enough, my father was a consultant at some point. And
Mm-hmm.
I know that this was something that I was really admiring. It's interesting how you can have like a belief around something, and then it's like you see it totally differently, after. So that was interesting. But I think that I had to really, really work hard on my mindset, because the
Yeah.
starting point was not, I'm going to say even more than that. I had to make myself aware that there was such a thing as mindset
Mm-hmm.
before working on the mindset, because I wasn't brought up with, I think, like most of us, I think it's a new generation thing. I think most of our parents were not as much as we are into personal development and didn't
Oh
have the,
no, no.
I
Just
mean,
get the
hopefully,
good degree, got the good job. Like, what?
yeah,
Personal development? What?
yeah, exactly. I mean, hopefully the next generation will talk differently about us, but I know that, it wasn't the type of environment of, you work on yourself or you work on your mindset. It was more like you go to
So
college.
true.
Yeah, you go to college, you get a job, and I was I was a teacher. I was going for education. So that was like a whole different career and path. But then it was actually when I was in between my growing and scaling stage that I myself went to a program and took a business coach. And she was the one who actually opened up the idea that the personal work that you and I are talking about now, and that was like 6 years ago. But that was like a really aha moment for me. That was
Mm-hmm.
like, I think that jump, because it was a very expensive program, I have to
Mm-hmm.
say, it was a real investment. And I don't know how I had the gut to say, this is what I need. It was like, either I jump into an expensive program or I'm going to turn in rhino in circles.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You invested in yourself. And that's what you know why you got the results? Because you went out of
Yes.
your comfort zone and you did an investment bigger than you'd ever imagine.
Oh yes, oh yes, and so, going back to your story, to your question about the mindset, how it started. I think that I didn't have, when you say you don't know that you don't know,
Yeah.
it's like sometimes you know that you don't, like, okay, one day I'll look into it, and some things you don't even know that you don't know. So I didn't even know that it existed. I mean, I knew about personal development work, and I had been in therapy and on my personal, side of my life, but I thought business is work, it's
Yeah.
a
This
job.
is revenue and profit. What else is there?
Marketing, my problem is I don't know how to post on social media. Ooh, I have a big problem. I mean, that was the extent of what I thought. And then when I realized that it was so deep, it was actually good news for me, because I felt that I mean, not that we can have control over our mindset, but at least we know where to start. At least a
Yes.
starting point where you can, pull up the thread and, like, say, oh, okay, it's because my parents spoke about money like that at home. Oh, okay, now I understand. Oh, okay. So I'm not saying I've cleared all of my money blocks and all of my mindset, but at least I know where to look, and I know,
Mhm.
where, how to tune myself in, and how to work on this. And I've seen the results. I really have. Like, once I've done some work, I've seen the results, and I can say it as, results, money in the bank,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
just results, nice to have.
I think
So
it's
yeah,
important. Yeah, it is very quantifiable. And that's been my experience too. Like I can literally quantify the results of really good coaching that has allowed me to break through different revenue ceilings. And yeah, totally.
definitely, and seeing things that I didn't even know existed.
Right.
And I mean, the way I look at it, and you'll tell me, if this is what you see too, is that everyone has money blocks, and
A
everyone.
100%.
I mean, it's like the person that says that they don't. It's I think that we all have, And that's the only thing that I think is separating us from our next level in revenue. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, because money is there, abundance is here, people are, I mean, everything is here. And especially, I feel so grateful. I mean, I started my business when we didn't have what we have today. I
Yeah.
mean, we had emails, we had internet. I'm not that old. But I mean, we didn't have, you know, even WhatsApp wasn't that common, and even social media. And today I feel like we have so much going for us. We have so much technology and so much awareness and so much readiness. People are ready to say, yes, I want to invest in myself, that I think it's almost like just, you know, picking the fruit from the
Yep.
tree. So it's
Yeah.
about, are you going to be able to raise your hand or not? Like, you know, it's only that. So yeah.
Agree. Beautiful. Natalie, any habits that you practice regularly that you feel help you with your business or your financial life? I'm always curious.
Journaling. I know it's a common one,
Really?
but I know, but it's something so I have my morning routine. I'm not going to say like times like this with an online summit and all that. I'm not 100%, but I have my morning routine, and when I do it, it's about meditating and journaling in the morning.
Wow.
And I find that the mornings are just amazing because it's just like a new page opens. And but I mean, personally, when I wake up, I always have that time where all of those ideas come up and I see things, and I'm like, you know, the visions keep on coming. And so when I take my notebook and I write down journaling, I feel like this is the way for me to open, you know, the day for high vibration, for everything is possible. And it could be that I have a very, you know, simple day, like nothing amazing is going to happen. But it's just that I put my ideas on paper. They exist because I put them on paper.
Yeah.
They exist.
I can very much relate. And I feel like it's not just the good ideas and the ideas that I get, but also a lot of the clutter, a lot of the stuff just goes on the paper. So now it's out of my mind.
Yes, definitely.
Right?
Yes, definitely. The journaling and the meditation. I used to do meditation every day, and I have to say that it's really magic. I mean, for me, it works. I have to, like everyone, I guess, have to be more disciplined about that.
Right.
But I also, there's another thing that I do is I listen to not necessarily podcasts, but people like Eckhart Tolle, you know, The Power of Now, Esther Hicks, you know, Abraham. So I listen to that because it's like putting myself in the right vibration. It's just like, even if I do something else, or even if I just like to be in that energy, because those words, or, you know, what they speak about are really putting, like, it's taking me away from the hustle of every day and opening up new horizons.
Possibilities. Yeah. And it's nice that this circles us back straight to the network, right? The global network, because sometimes we forget that the benefit of being in a room on a recurrent basis, exposed to possibilities that we on our own cannot see, right? Even listening to this conversation is planting the seed for people to see something that they might, right? And when you do this consistently and you're in a room with people who've done it bigger, better, who've made different turns, wait, that turn can be made? I never even knew that road existed, right? There is, and it's a priceless benefit.
Definitely.
Right?
Definitely. And I think that that's the food for the soul that we need as entrepreneurs. And I'm going to say, especially women entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Because we learn from connection. We learn from energy, from vibration, from intuition. I mean, you know, yes, I did my MBA. Okay. You know,
so did I, and I feel the same way. Okay,
so it's done. You know, okay, I can say I have an MBA, but when I have those experiences with, you know, like a sisterhood or a connection with women in the same room, and that I feel that we're all on the same page. It doesn't mean that we're all the same, but we're here for the same purpose, and we connect, and all of a sudden ideas happen, and you feel your brain is expanding and your soul is like, out of body experience. It's like those things are priceless. I mean, that's
And by the way, it wasn't happening in the halls of those MBA programs. At least not when you went or I went. Sometimes I want to go teach at an MBA program just to see if things have changed a little bit. Like, I'm really hopeful, but I don't think that's true.
I mean, I was so disappointed. And then people kept on saying, no, but it's for the networking. You'll get good relationship. But no, because you know why? Because we were 7 women, over 40 plus students.
Yeah. Yep. And it's not networking, because the spirit is not collaboration. The spirit is competition. So it just doesn't work.
Yeah. So that's why, programs, the online programs or whatever, you feel like, something that's aligned and you have like-minded people and you have a right balance of energy and mindset. And the network, that's also the goal. That's also the goal. I mean, that's the primary goal, is to bring women together. We were just on the last guest of the the Leadership Summit was talking about how the redemption is going to come from women, doing things together and collaborating. And she said the most beautiful thing, so that you're leading the way for women to lead to redemption. And I have that strong intuition. I really do. I really do feel that everything I do is to rebalance the feminine with the masculine. Because I feel like there is, and again, I'm not talking about men and women, because
no, the energy, for sure.
Exactly. And but I do know that it's going to come through women, though. It is going to come through women. And putting all this energy, like when we have the global network once a month, it's on Zoom, and everyone comes out saying, wow, there's an amazing energy in those meetups. And planning now for the conference in January in person in Jerusalem. I mean, I have, my heart is going like,
I'm going to come with my tambourine ready, people. It's in Jerusalem.
Of course, exactly.
We're going from the conference straight to the Beis Hamikdash.
I mean, it's in Jerusalem, right? So exactly. So I mean, that's also why I want to do it here. But it's an amazing journey, and I'm so what I'm so grateful for is when I see that it's resonating with so many women. That is really, because you can have an idea, you can have a vision, and okay, you have a vision, but when you, and I remember in the beginning, I almost didn't dare saying the whole thing, because I was like, people are going to be scared. You talk about feminism, you talk about redemption, you talk about, people are going to move, run away from
the strategy master became woo-woo. What happened to her?
Exactly. Like, I was like, oh my God, I'm a business mentor, like, and as maybe because I was careful on how I was saying it. I don't know, but I started little by little, and then people were like, yeah, I feel the same way. I feel the same way. And what you were saying before is that once you're aligned with yourself, you attract the people that, feel the same or think the same. And so that's what I'm so grateful. Maybe it's the right timing. I don't know, but it's just happening.
It's all of it. And it's the fact that it's not mutually exclusive. The truth is, running a business also has so much to do with people who succeed in business have a commitment to something that's tangible. It's called values, right? They're not flaky. And I don't care what your values are, but you and I know what our values are, right? So again, we go back to this idea of personal development. It demands of you a real self-discovery, and you have to take a stand on something, right? And you have to say, this is what my business stands for, because I'm behind this business. This is who I stand for. So what I stand for. So it's an incredible thing, and you're doing a wonderful job. So before you tell us a little bit more about this summit, which I'm really excited about, and I'm so grateful that I'm going to be one of the participants tomorrow. Tell us, I want to do something really fun that I do at the end of every interview. And you didn't prep for it, so you're just going to have fun with this, and we're going to go with it. Okay. So this is Jewish Money Matters, fill in the blanks. This is the part of the show where I give you an open-ended statement, and you finish it with the first thing that comes to mind. All right.
Okay. Let's do it.
When I give Meiser or tzedakah, I like to give to
women organizations, definitely.
Wow. Yeah. Beautiful. Single mothers. Like, when you say women,
I have a sweet spot for agunot.
Yeah. I mean, enough said. Yes. I'd love to make more money because
I want to do more good in the world.
Yeah. Something I wish I'd learned about money growing up is
that there is enough money for everyone.
Oh, yes. Can we just can we put it on neon, bold neon? Like, seriously, people. There's just plenty of it. Stop limiting God. He has a big faucet of it. Money, spiritual or physical?
Spiritual.
Something I splurge on unapologetically is?
Again, sorry?
Something I splurge on unapologetically is?
You're gonna have to define splurge. I have those words, but I don't necessarily know. What do you mean?
So splurge is like, like an extravagant expense, let's say, like something like this is where I put money and I don't really check my budget, let's say, if you will.
I see. Traveling.
Oh, nice. You're an experiences person.
Oh yeah. Traveling.
That's money well spent, let me tell you.
I mean, traveling, I could have the money in the bank or not. I'm just doing it.
Nice.
I'm lucky because I don't have the whole clothing and jewelry thing. It doesn't do anything to me. I mean, I like to have nice clothing, but I don't need the brand names. Right. I'm not car. I'm not house. I mean, again, I like nice things, but I don't have the traveling. That is I can. Nice.
Natalie, spender or saver?
Spender.
Yeah, me too. Have you changed that over time? Did you find you've become more of a saver, more disciplined over time?
You said something earlier that I really agree with. You said that two things teach us in life, right? Our kids and our business. So what taught me to save is my kids. Like I know how to put money away for my kids.
Right.
That's what I've taught myself.
Yes.
I still have a long way to go, but I think that if something motivates me to save is my kids. Yes.
Yeah, I hear you. Today I'm most grateful for
being 50 years old.
You're 50 years old. You look like you're 35. God bless. Good for you.
Grateful for being 50 because I mean, thank you for the compliment. I mean, it's also because of that I can say that I'm grateful. Of course, if I would look all old, then maybe I wouldn't say that. I don't know, but I think that there is a point in life where you already know yourself and you already know what works, what doesn't work, and I don't know, there's a maturity. I mean, of course you can't short today, like you can't say I want to be 50 today, but I'm happy where I am, in that age, and I'm really happy in that place.
Yeah, it's such a great feeling to be at that point where you're just content in your skin, right? And I think I do think there's something that happens on the decade of the 40s where you just other people's opinions don't matter. You just feel so in alignment, going back to your words, right? Exactly. You get to that place where like, oh yeah, this is me. Like this is me, and I'm happy being me. Yeah. I'm confident being me. Yeah, it's actually a very beautiful thing. And it's like you said, it's nothing. You have to go through your insecurities of your 20s and kind of the 30s to get there. So I'm glad that you said this because I'm approaching 50 in the next few years, and I'm actually looking forward to more of what I've experienced this decade. Like if this is what I have to look forward, I'm good with that. I like the version of myself that I'm saying? Like I like what I've become.
Exactly. I think that I mean, again, we also live in a time where we live healthier, we take good care of ourselves. I mean, I think 50 now and 50 in past generation is not the same. But today it's really like taking the benefit of all the hard work and just like, yes, of course there are still challenges and nothing is perfect, but it's more about like accepting yourself and like you said, like whoever is not on board, it's okay. Like
it's okay. It's okay. Yeah.
It's not touching me as it used to touch me. Like I'm a very sensitive, I'm very intense, and everything is very raw the way I and being 50 is like putting like a blanket of it's okay, it's okay. You don't have to be so intense all the time. It's okay.
Yeah. And finally, I'm Nathalie Garson, and I believe Jewish money matters because
I believe Jewish money matters because it can help bring redemption.
Yes, amen to that. That is so true, by the way. You must have been listening to this podcast. Yes, indeed. People, I did not tell her to say that.
No, I mean, I really think so. I think
It's
that if,
true.
if we're here for something, at least we should bring that.
100%. So Natalie, tell us about this incredible summit that's going on right now. Where can we sign up? What is it all about? Who's it for?
Well, it's an amazing summit, and I'm so happy that you are a speaker, one of 18 speaker, only women that are going to speak about Jewish values. Each speaker is bringing a Jewish value, and the idea is really to raise consciousness around leadership, around feminine leadership, to have those important conversations that we need to have around the difference between a masculine leadership and a feminine leadership, and to bring those Jewish values more at the center of our lives, because it's an amazing gift that we have that we take for granted, or maybe I do, I don't know, but we don't always appreciate that we have that huge history, that huge, tradition, that Jewish people went through so much, and we can just tap in that, that gift. And so it's really about bringing the different dimensions, the Jewish dimension, the feminine dimension, and the business dimension too, because it's for women entrepreneurs and leaders. And it's really to have those conversations and to prepare the path for the conference in January. So we start having those conversations and we start building and continue building that community together. Yes.
Wow. So everybody stay tuned for this big conference. This is going to be in January. You don't want to miss it. I'm sure I'm going to be letting everybody know about it. And now for the summit, you can also register, right? People can register and they can get replays if they register. How does it work?
So the lives are happening in the Facebook group. If you want to know more, you can look on Facebook, Global Network for Jewish Women Entrepreneurs and Leaders.
Beautiful.
I know that's the title, but when you put Global Network, it comes up.
It comes up and you just ask to be admitted to the group,
yes,
right?
Exactly. 100%. It has to be admitted. And then once you register, I mean, we speak only about that in the group, so you can't miss it. And then once you register, you get the recordings if you can attend the lives. Beautiful. And you also get the gifts, because every speaker is offering gifts. So
yes. And it's quite the group of speakers. Thank you, Natalie, so much. And one thing I want to reemphasize to what you said about the Jewish values and how this summit is all about these Jewish values, that when we really use the word tap into, when we really tap and define what those values are and tap into them, we actually build better businesses. Yes. So I think we need to remember that. I alluded to that before, but I just wanted to emphasize it again. We end up building better businesses, and that's what we want to do, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently we have gentlemen in the audience here also. So thank you, Natalie, so much. Tell us where we can find you other than the Facebook group. If we want to connect with you, is there a website? Where do we connect with you?
You can go to my website, nataliegarson.com. You can go on Facebook, Nathalie Garson as well. And you can find me in the Global Network. And I have my podcast also, the Jewish Women Entrepreneurs Podcast, on Spotify, Apple Podcast, everywhere. And that's where you can find me.
Beautiful. And we'll be sure to put all the links to that. Thank you so much, and continued success.
Thank you so much, Yael. It was a pleasure to be on your podcast. Thank you.
So fun.